Good day, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this webinar. I see Grow For Me, I see Noel, I see Rafaela, and I see Tom. Thanks for joining us on this webinar. And we also have Diego, our speaker for today.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Diego.
Hello, Ike. How are you?
Yeah, great. Nice to have you here. Yes. The webinar today is titled "The Adoption of a SMS Service Model by Smallholder Farmers in Africa." Before we jump right into it, I'm Ignitia, the Content and Inbound Marketing Lead at Ignitia. As usual, I'll be your moderator for this webinar. I expect you can hear me good. If you cannot hear me well, please put a message in the chat box. I crave your indulgence. It's 3 o'clock. I think we should give an extra 2 minutes for whoever is joining later. So in essence, we'll be diving into the webinar proper in another 2 minutes. While we wait, it's important to note that this webinar was put together to share knowledge on how farmers in Africa receive and adopt our SMS-based weather-focused service, ISCA. So in a few minutes, our speaker, Diego, will be taking us through the adoption of our SMS service model by smallholder farmers in Africa. What's more, to ensure there's less experience for all of us here, we'll be muting all microphones except the speakers. Should you have any questions halfway through the webinar, you could note it down for the Q&A segment. There'll be a Q&A session at the end of this webinar. So you could drop your questions in the comments section. I need to be attended to. And if you feel comfortable with speaking up, just raise your hand or unmute your mic when it's the question and answer segment and throw your question. We'll be very glad to field all your questions today. Of course, I encourage you to ask all your questions and make your contributions. Yes, that's it. With that out of the way, let's know our facilitator today. A quick one on a quick profile on Diego. So Diego joined Ignitia in 2017, and he brought a lot of experience with him. Two things stand out about him. That's his passion and his perseverance. And these are very essential for the kind of markets we're playing as a company. He is our head of B2C, and he ensures that all we offer in Ignitia gets to the people who need it most, which are the smallholder farmers, especially in the tropics. So, Diego, I think this is where you take over. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ike. Thank you for do the introduction. Welcome everyone. I'm very happy to be here and to explain a little bit of what we do and what I exactly do and how can I how I help Ignitia to expand the service that we have right now. Before I jump into the specifics about how small farmers adopt the SMS service, I believe that it's important for us everyone to know a little bit about Ignitia. So I will do a first introduction about Ignitia, what is our mission, how we come up with this weather forecast prediction. And after that, I'm going to explain into details about how exactly our SMS service works. So in 2009, Ignitia was founded by Lisa. While she was monitoring climates in the tropics for a NASA research project at University of Washington, she actually discovered that the existing formulas or weather models, how they were calculated, were extremely unreliable. So she thought, something needs to be done, especially for those who actually need this information, and the most people that were affected for the lack of this information. So the smallholder farmers. So, like I said, in 2019, she left the comfortable position she had in the University of Washington, and she recruited a team to help her to come up with this new weather model for predicting the weather forecast in the tropics. So they moved to Ghana, which I think it was a great idea. A lot of sun, and they start working on this weather model. Do a lot of tryouts and understand, if the model actually was working, the algorithm was the right one for the region. So they took around 4 years to develop the right algorithm, and a year later they started the first service. So the mission of Ignitia was, provide the most reliable weather forecasts for the tropics, especially enable farmers to make more informed decisions. The idea was, to reduce all the risks they had and, increase their yields. That was the main idea of Ignitia, still is our main mission. Ignitia is the world's first tropical weather forecasting at time, and still it is, the first tropical weather forecast. So before we jump to more details, it's important to understand what is the big picture today. What was the problem that Ignitia set out to solve? So the levels of accuracy existing of the weather forecast in the tropics are far from the Western standards. When they use several models, the English model, US model, European model, especially in the rainy season, it doesn't work. It was not actually providing the right information. Also, 96% of all our agriculture in the tropics still use rain as the only source of water, which makes all farming activities rain dependent. So once again, it is very, very important to have actually a right weather forecast for this. So it's not surprising that the weather is currently one of the main causes for yield loss in the tropics. We had to do something to change that. Another thing is, this is the major issue because it affects over 1 billion small-scale farmers in the tropics. And this number is still increasing drastically over the next decades, while Europe, we're getting less people and less. So
movie. That's essentially just a.
I'm thinking, okay, now someone was unmuted. And so we need to make sure we actually understand their reality, so we come up with a solution. So if we think about the farmers' problems, they're facing huge issues, especially and the seasons are more unpredictable. The application of applications of chemicals and fertilizers are the most costly for farmers. So it's very, very important to understand, for them to understand what will be the weather for them, so they can plan better. And also, due to this situation, without having a right weather forecast, farmers waste more money if they mobilize labor or machinery for harvesting. So if they decided to do upfront investment, which usually it's what is happening, and it's going to rain, you know, that money it's going to be lost. So actually, what was the solution? So the solution was to provide a highly accurate weather forecast for the tropics. So, well, the numerical forecast techniques simply don't apply when predicting rainfall in the tropics, which has to do with extremely locally thunderstorm formation across the region. So at Ignitia, what they have to be done is to build a specialized forecast model that combines both numerical integration techniques and statistical modeling, a way to improve the forecast, and providing this information based on the localized very location of this farmer, using the GPS location or cell tower location, which I will explain a little bit later. So our forecasting model has an accuracy of 84% based on these two techniques, and this predictable Ignitia proprietary forecast model predicts tropical weather forecast patterns down to 3 square kilometer range. So, which means that the farmer whose farm is 1 acre may get a very different forecast than the farmer that owns the lands right next to his. So it is very, very important to understand that the formation of storms, they are very, very localized in the tropics. So how does it work, and how we use, you know, this information, this big data, to generate an accurate weather forecast? For the statistical modeling, we use a wide range of, you know, remote sensing data sets from private entities or public entities. An example, you can see there satellite data from NASA, NOAA, and other private actors. We identified, you know, the important regional and local patterns that nearly impossible for a human or a traditional forecasting methods to detect. And then we use another technique, the learning technique, machine learning techniques, to bridge what was referred as the, you know, a predictability gap for thunderstorm forecasts, and feeding the system with a large amount of data to generate better forecasts. You know, after that analysis, so we collect, to compute, and do the analysis, we come up with a prediction that will be transformed in a simple text message that will be distributed by SMS, or can be by app, also web, or through an API. You know, there's a lot of ways we could deliver this information. This information goes to our customers on the HQ, for example, enterprises that need our information, or to farmers, small-scale farmers that gets also that information on a daily basis. So another thing that I want to share with you is Ignitia relies on satellites and remote data. This allows us, you know, to predict the weather without need of you know, expensive infrastructures on the ground. And you know, I don't know if you know, but especially in sub-Saharan Africa, we cannot use the local weather stations. Most of them, you know, doesn't exist, or they are not giving the right information. So using that method gives us the flexibility to expand to new geographical areas and markets. So this is an example that I want to share with you. So here you can see on the left image, the BBC News, what was the prediction for that day, and on the image on the center image, you will see our forecast. So what happened is, in reality, 48 hours later, that was the result of the reality, what actually happened. And you will see that the forecast that we predict was much closer what was the reality than the one that used global weather models. So this is give us an accuracy of 84% versus 39% if we use the global models, as I said. So let's start talking about the product itself. So we have a product that is delivered by SMS. It's called ISCA, which means wind in Hausa, a Nigerian local language. And this SMS, we provide a daily 48 hours rainfall forecast. And that solves a lot of issues. So first of all, solves the critical timing problems for a farmer, because we deliver, very early in the morning, and so they can plan better their day. Also, the risk of loss is reduced significantly on application of inputs, because they have this information. They can plan better, like I said. The message is also very easy to interpret, because it took us almost 2 years to understand what was the best way to communicate to our farmers. And I can give you a very interesting example. So if you draw a circle and some lines around the circle, majority of people will say that it's the sun because it's related to weather. But the majority of the farmers who thought that was actually a spider. So these inputs are very important to understand how we can communicate better to our farmers. And don't forget, a lot of them, they have a lot of issues to understand the language. There's a lot of illiteracy. So we need to come up with a very simple way to explain what's going to be the weather like. Also, the service that we provide is highly scalable. Like I said in the previous slides, we don't need weather stations on the ground. So everything is done remotely. And that is the beauty of this service. And the last but not least, not the least important one, is we have different languages. We can, we can go to even to a local language, as long as it can be written. Our service can definitely, people can select what language they want to receive. So how exactly our farmers can receive our forecast? So let me explain that we have two methods. We have run through B2B and from B2C. I'm going to explain the B2B generically so you can understand the big difference between these two pillars. So the B2B, we basically sell the service to NGO projects or to big farms where they want to provide our solution to their own farmers. So basically, Ignitia makes a contract with these entities, and these entities will share with us a database of farmers where you will ingest in our system and start working on the weather forecast. We're starting to deliver the message to these farmers. So what we do is we connect, our system is connected to SMS bulk providers that usually is connected to all the mobile operators in the region. And we start sending messages. It's usually it's only one way, so people cannot interact with us. They only start receiving the content on a daily basis because they belong to a project that is managed by an NGO, or they also belong to a group of farmers, a big farm that wants to receive a reliable weather forecast. So usually to run these kind of projects, and there's a requirement, some requirements to before we launch it. So first and foremost, we need to understand if our weather model is available in the region. Also, we need to define what is the duration of the project. It's very, very important for us to have access to farmers' phones with the GPS coordinates, because we are very, very localized weather forecast. We provide a very localized. So this is how, what makes us very different from the rest of the weather forecast companies. Also understand the number of farmers that will receive the forecast, because that will impact the costs of the project. And also, they need to predefine what will be the language of the service. We can actually make it, we can put different languages as long, we do the correct translations. So this is for you to understand, how our service can be served for big corporations. Now, moving to the B2C, which I'm responsible with. So basically what we do, and this is the first deal that actually Ignitia did, was with one of the mobile operators in Ghana, MTN, the biggest one. So what we do is we present this idea to the mobile operator. After showing the potential of the service and what is our purpose or what's our mission, the majority of the mobile operators got very excited about this service. So we got a contract with a mobile operator where we will be able to share or to send weather forecasts through an SMS. But the good thing is, we can actually have an interaction with the farmer, and the farmer can pay for this service. Also, one of the big advantages to have this kind of contract or cooperation with mobile operators is that, all the projects that we had with the B2B, which mostly of them are subsidized or by the NGOs or by the enterprises, those farmers in the end of the project, because usually they have a limit, like 12 months or 24 months of project, they can actually, after the project, they can continue to receiving the content, because people can actually sign up using their mobile network. So when we do these contracts with mobile operators, we'll have access to a USSD menu, which I will explain later, through an SMS. And we also have the location based on the cell ID. As I mentioned before, a couple of slides before, cell ID is actually, it's the towers, the cell towers that are in the country where they have the antennas, and we can actually understand from which area the subscriber subscribe the service, from where we have access to a GPS location of those cell IDs or cell towers. That is fundamentally important for us, because then, as you might understand, most of these farmers don't have a smartphone. They have a feature phone or a basic phone, and they don't have a GPS incorporated. So this is how we actually got their location of our farmers or subscribers, and give the right weather forecast. And in the end, also, one of the things that we have with these mobile operators is access to a billing platform that will allow us to charge the customer or charge the farmer to be able, so that these people can be able to pay for our service. So how exactly that works? How everything works? So how can people, how farmers can sign up for this service? So we have a method using the USSD menu. I'm sure most of you probably remember in the old times when we had the basic phones, people can just navigate through a menu that just pop-ups when you dial for a number. So this method, it's actually still very usable in Africa. Everyone's using this method for, even to pay the bills of the house. You just need just a few network in your mobile phone to have access to this. So I share here with you an example of a menu of a service. So we have access to a short code. Short code is the number that you see there, 123, for example. Once people or farmer dials this number, it will pop up a menu where people can select their options to subscribe our service. So in this case, we provide a daily subscription where every day we charge the customer for a message, the weekly one. So every week we charge a bigger amount than the daily, and they ensure that the rest of the week they will receive the content. And they have the most expensive, the monthly. But of course, what's happening is we always reduce the pricing if people subscribe for more time. So if they use a monthly, they will pay less per message than if they choose a daily subscription. On this menu, they also can change, or they can update the location. There are two methods. One method is through, it's done automatically because we have access to their location using the cell ID towers, or in some cases, we can include the cities and then go to region, cities, and villages, and that's also one of the ways we can detect the location of the user. And then we have the information about the service. They can know much more. How does it work? If they have any questions, they also have access to a phone number. They will call to a call center in the mobile operator, and the mobile operator knows everything about our service. And in the end, they can also cancel. So let's give an example. If they click 1, they go through a second screen where they need to confirm if they want to have if they want to have the subscription. So once they click 1, they will go to another screen where they will say congratulations for joining the service, and they will receive at the same time a message welcoming for the service and with a weather forecast prediction. So this is the most common way to subscribe our service, but there's also another way, which is through an SMS. So we can also include keywords, special keywords that our system will detect which kind of subscription they want. For example, if you send weather to 123, they will automatically understand that customer, or our service will understand the customer wants to subscribe our service, and he wants to subscribe our daily subscription. And after that, they just need to reply to yes to confirm their subscription. This is what we call a double opt-in. Sometimes people just can send just one keyword and automatically be subscribed, and some other times they need to confirm as part of the rules of the country, or even from the mobile operator. So so how exactly people can understand or know about our service? So with our contracts we have with mobile operators, we always try to negotiate with them communication, marketing actions to promote our service. So one of the most common ways is using the bulk SMS, where just they select a database, they put a message, and they start sending these promotion messages to our potential customers. So this is one of the most famous ways, and still it is one of the most famous ways to promote a service, a digital service through an SMS. The other ways, which we started using 2 years ago, more or less 3 years ago, it's the end of call notification or end of SMS notification. And how it works. So basically, when you send a message to someone, you will receive, in the end of that message, when you send it, you receive a pop-up message, pop-up screen in your mobile phone saying how much how much it costs that message to send, and how much balance you have in your SIM card, in your SIM card. But you still have a couple of more characters or empty space that you can promote your service. So what we do is, some of the cases, the mobile operator give us this space for free to communicate our service, and sometimes they allow us to buy that space for us to promote the service. And we use this method in several mobile networks, and is actually one of the most efficient ways, because it's not so people are used to receive these notifications when they call or when they finish to send a message, while the bulk SMS, still a lot of people receive a lot of SMSs and they tend to not to read them. And then we have the traditional media, radio. So we use this method. It's not the most efficient way, because it's very difficult to track where the customer came from. So, for example, if we use end of SMS and end of notifications, we can track the customer, how they enter to the service. But if we use the radio, there's no, usually what they do is we use the USSD menu to people to sign up for our service, and there's no way we can track or validate if the customer came from radio number 1 or radio number 2. So for us, or for any kind of service that can be provided by SMS, it's a little bit difficult to track the performance of these campaigns, and usually also it's much more expensive, since it's the most common way to communicate any services. So with these contracts that we have with the mobile operators, we have a business model with them. So usually what we have is a revenue share. So for every message that we charge to the end customer, part of that amount goes to the mobile operator. And there's 2 ways where we can charge the customer. The most common is the airtime. So basically, when people have balance on their mobile phone every day or every week or every month, we can we can charge the customer taking out the money from airtime. And the other way is using a mobile money, if available. The mobile money, it's a new thing in West Africa, and it will be the future of what we believe the future of the billing systems in the region, using the mobile phone. With a very simple mobile phone, people can pay everything. And if you go to East Africa, Kenya or Tanzania, it's super common, if you go to a restaurant, you can pay your bill with just using the mobile money. And West Africa is adopting right now this new way. In Ghana is already very advanced. Some of the countries is not so much. There's some difficulties about because there's always you need to involve the banking systems, and this is a long process to make sure everyone has access to this method. So usually, for us to launch a service using with this, or having a contract with the mobile operator, it usually takes a long time. And there's a lot of requirements for us to be able to provide this service. So once again, we need to validate if the weather forecast is available in the country. Another thing is the licensing. Licensing is also part of the project. So we need to understand if we as Ignitia, we need to have a local presence and to have a license to provide these methods, these SMSs in the country. Some of the mobile operators, we have a direct contract and we don't have a local presence. Some others, it's mandatory to have it. But also it's very important to understand that we also need to understand if a private entity like us, weather forecast private entity, can operate in the country. So after those legal and licensing process, we need to contact the mobile operators, do the commercial discussion, and it usually takes a long process. In the other hand, there's another alternative is through an aggregator. So basically, aggregator is a company that it's already connected to all mobile operators in the country, and we just need to have one contract instead of just going one by one, a single contract for each mobile operator. And then after that, technical integration, because we need to make sure that Ignitia systems is connected to the mobile operators in order for us to send the content, the messages, the weather forecast, also be able to charge the customer and to create those menus that I showed previously. And also the reason why we go through these mobile operators is because they cover the majority of the countries and our farmers, but also they have direct access to these farmers because we can use their media channels, bulk SMS or other type of notifications to promote our service. And those channels are very important for us due to, first, we can communicate directly to a customer. It's very efficient instead of going through from television or radio, as I said before. So let's just talk here about, this is the three main advantages between B2B and the B2C from the farmer side. Usually for the B2B deal, usually the project is covered by the NGO or by the enterprise or organization. So the farmer doesn't have to pay anything. They just need to be part of the project. Also, during these projects that we have with NGOs and or organizations, we provide training. So everyone, we make sure everyone knows what to do with the message they receive. And in the end, there's also M&E, monitoring and evaluation. So people, after the project, we understand how actually make an impact to small scale farmers. And those farmers, they also know in the end, the results of their actions. But on the other hand, if you go through the B2C, the service is fully controlled by the farmer. So they can subscribe, they can cancel. If they don't want for a dry season, they can cancel it. Also, they can choose different prices because we provide daily weather forecast, weekly weather forecast, and monthly weather forecast. I mean, the daily forecast is actually, they receive every day, but they can choose paying between daily payments or weekly payments or monthly payments. And the other thing is, any farmer can sign up for the service as long as is available in the network. And aside, if you compare with the B2B, they need to belong to the project. So this is also a great advantage because we don't limit it to a certain type of customers. We serve everyone. Also, the B2C works also for us as a sustainable project. I mean, in the end of the project in the B2B, after we do the M&E monitoring and evaluation, we even before we start to communicate to farmers and say, the project is almost over, but there's a way you can start, keep the service live. And the way you do it is you can just sign up using the shortcode that was shared that is available in the country, and you just sign up, for daily payments or weekly or monthly, the one that you prefer the most. And this is how actually we transform every we'll try to transform every business or NGO project to sustainable projects through the B2C. So where are we now right now? So the service is available in several countries. We started with Ghana, with MTN. We cover, 75, 80, 70, between 75 and 77% of the country, because we have MTN and Airtel Tigo available. Vodafone is not available right now. Then, of course, Nigeria, which is the biggest market that we have right now. We're only live right now with 9Mobile, but we expect by the end of this year to actually be live in several countries because we already signed up the contracts. And if we cover MTN and Airtel, we will be covering almost the majority of the country. Then we have Mali. We are only available with Orange. Ivory Coast, we're live with the MTN, and soon we'll be able to provide also through Orange. And we're also available in Burkina Faso, and soon will be available in Sierra Leone. We already have, we're also thinking about, and we're already making this progress to move to a new region, Brazil. So we're already in touch with different local partners that will help us to expand the service to a new region. So let's talk about the results of what we of the achievements that we had using the B2C. So until now, we already sent over 228 million weather forecasts since we start our journey. We started with Ghana in 2010, and we already serve more than 1.8 million customers in this region that I mentioned before. And the most, and I think the things that we are very proud of it is the retention rate. So our retention rate is 97%, which is very, very high for this kind of services. As Ike did the introduction, I've been working in the software as a service for a long time, especially with the mobile operators, and I never seen in my life a 97% retention rate. So this is one of the things that makes even mobile operators to work with us, is this level of satisfaction that we have, because farmers they don't have access to reliable information before. So once we started to provide this information, we even got calls from farmers in the early days saying that we were God for them because we actually predicted the weather that we said. And when I can even share a story, when I was living in Ghana and I visited the farms there, I remember that the farmers were saying that the only way before to predict the weather was looking to the flowers or looking to the plants. So we actually made a huge difference once we started to promote this service to small scale farmers. It makes a huge difference. And I can even share, or I can even share later on some more information about about the farmers that we have. Last year we made a project in Nigeria, and we had an external entity company, 60 Decibels, that made a study about the performance of our service. I can already share with you some of the numbers. 7 in 10 could not find a good alternative to our weather forecast, and more than 80% of the farmers report that the information that we send actually made a huge improvement on their revenue and the way they farm. And even due to these results, 74% of the people that these farmers were happy to to share this information, to share the service that we had with their families, with other farmers. So word of mouth was actually very, very high for this project. You can even access to that if you go to the Mercy Corps website. But I'm sure I'm going to ask Ike, to share this information with you later on. So about the future, how we actually see the future of our service. So as I said, we want to expand to different regions. We're already planning for this year to start in Brazil, and we're also looking to go through other countries in West Africa or in Africa, but also in Southeast Asia. It's part of the plans for us to expand because we want to make sure we serve everyone in the tropic belt. And that is our main objective, to serve everyone there that has access to, that has a smartphone and will be able to promote the service. But also we need to think in the future in terms of what would be, how it's going to involve the market, so the telecom industry. We already know that people are already adopting the smartphones, and we cannot forget about those. Hello? Oh, someone was okay. Someone is already. Can you mute your microphone, please? All right, thank you. So as I was saying, there's a people are more and more adopting the smartphones. The smartphones are getting cheaper. So we also have on the plans to build a native app or even a mobile web app, which will be, similar to a native one. And with that one, we'll be able even to provide much more information that that an SMS can provide, because on the SMS we have a very limited size. We only have 160 characters to promote what we, or to share the information that we have. Of course, there's advantages of the SMS. We can reach everyone, even with the very small, very few bandwidth. People can still receive the content, and comparing with the smartphone, they need to have access to data. And the regions that we work, that is still a challenge. But we believe that we already working on that, because that will be the future, and we want to make sure we already be part of it. So from my end, I believe that's it. From now, I'll be open to everyone to ask me questions, and I'll be happy to answer all the questions that you have. So yeah, thank you so much for being here and listening for these 45 minutes. Hello, Hike. Are you there?
Thank you so much, Diogo. Insightful. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. There's a little bit delay, but I can hear you.
Oh, sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, I was saying thank you so much for being available. And yes, this has been quite an insightful session. 97% retention rates. I don't think anything beats that. That's really awesome. So yes, Matthew, we see your hand raised. So I'm going to unmute your mic. Okay, yes, your mic is already unmuted. You can ask your question now.
Hi, thanks, and super cool what you guys are doing, and really, looking up to you guys as the traction and what you've done. My question is, so I'm CEO of High Up Online. We're an agri finance platform. We've got a network of mobile apps, essentially, which actually looking to your sort of development, moving away from necessarily purely SMS. Are you looking at any ability to integrate, rather than having your own native app, to integrate with other like via APIs, so that so that, for example, we could surface your weather information, obviously within a commercial model, to our clients and customers?
Yeah, thank you, Matthew, for your question. Yeah, absolutely. That is something that can be done. We already had discussions in the past with other entities that were looking for that. Definitely, that is something that can be done. It's all about, in the end, is about the business model that we put in place, and understand what is the objective, what is the mission for that. But definitely yes, because we also looking for to provide information through APIs. I'm not dealing the process, but that is something that is I believe that it's possible.
Okay, great, thanks.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Yes. And we'll have a question. This is from Kelvin. Kelvin is asking, is your service able to integrate through an app?
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me good now?
Yes. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, this is coming in from Kelvin. Kelvin is asking, is your service able to integrate through an existing native app currently?
So at this moment, no, because we're still defining, like I answered to Matthew. It's possible. We're still figuring out how is going to be, what was going to be our business model for APIs. But once that it's done, that is something that is that project is dealing by our product manager. That is something that needs to be discussed. At this moment, we're not ready to do this kind of integrations, but once the API business is ready, that is something that probably it's possible to do it.
Okay, thank you, Diogo, for handling that. There is another question in here, and this is from Krishan. The question is, you mentioned wanting to expand to other regions and countries. What is your minimum investment to make the services available or tested in another country? Example, Eastern Africa or island in the Indian Ocean. Did you get that, Diogo? Or would you like me to take it again?
Yes, I got it.
Yes.
Thank you, Christian, for the question. Usually what we do is, first, this is a decision that is made by the management team, and it's based usually on the size of the market for the B2C. Of course, there's costs to run on the new countries or new regions, because let me explain that although the model that we have serves all the tropic belt, we always need to evaluate and test the model in the country or the region. And of course, there are some regions which is more difficult. I can give you an example. For example, if we go to a country that has a lot of islands, the weather is super localized. So that needs to take a lot of time from our team, technical team and the science team, to make make our weather forecast modeling to work there, because we want to make sure it's like more than 84% of accuracy. But in terms of costs, I don't have the costs with me. That is something that is usually done by the management team. But for your idea, is just we need to have a science team to work on to evaluate the modeling. Also from our end, in terms of B2C, in terms of technical integration, it will not require. It requires just two person full time to do the integrations. But the problem is not just much the cost in terms of gross, but it's the time that it consumes. For example, to do an integration with a mobile operator, it can take like 6 to 8 months. So it's something that, you know, this needs to be thinking before, and this decision needs to be done with time. So we make sure, you know, at least myself, I'm ready, you know, to contact the mobile operators and start negotiation, because once we imagine if we want to launch next year in the new country, I need to start having this discussion with the mobile operators. I cannot have a discussion like a month before. But in terms of costs, I don't have the costs.
Okay, thank you. Nonetheless, if this is for Christian, you could always reach out. Diego, could you drop your email address?
Yes,
in
sure,
the
absolutely.
comment section, so you could continue the conversation after.
Absolutely. Let me find out. Let me just pause here my presentation. Give me a second. Okay. Yeah, sure. I will share here my email so everyone can access it, can contact me. Give me a second, please. But yeah, any other questions, Ike? Can you see it?
Yes. There's another one from Noel. Noel is asking if illiteracy is one of the biggest problems with smallholder farmers. How do you get the end of call marketing to work?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Noel. Yeah, that is actually one of the big issues that we have. But the thing is, the way, let's say one thing, when we promote the service, we have to, no matter what, we need to write something to in this message to promote it. I mean, if you send a bulk an SMS to promote the service, people need to read and need to understand what they are subscribing. And the same thing for end of call notifications. I mean, in the end of when they do the call and they see the balance, you know, they understand, you know, they understand what is about, you know, the main thing. Now, there's other solutions that we were looking. It's called IVR, interactive voice recording, which is, you know, people can actually, you know, call to a number and listen the weather forecast. Now, this is something that we have been discussing for a while, and the only issue is the cost for the end user. It's quite costly because, you know, having a call is much higher to have, you know, to receive a message, and then also, you know, you need much more bandwidth from, you know, from your cell phone to have this call companion with the SMS. There's also other challenges like you know, our weather forecast model, or our service is based on every morning we send a message to very early to the farmer. Now, what happens if people start receiving calls every day at 6 a.m., right? If you don't take the call to listen the weather forecast, that will be a problem. They need, you know, or they need to call, or if they don't have enough bandwidth, which is very common, they cannot listen properly the message. But instead of the SMS we send, and they stay there in their mobile phone, and you can check it later about the weather. But you know, it's something that actually we have been talking, and you know, even mobile operators, for example, Orange Mali, they started to implement the project, but you know, but they saw the cost of implementation. It was so high, they prefer to put on hold until we see if we can, you know, if the SMS is still if it's still you know, the best way to communicate our service.
Okay, thank you, Diego. right now in the chat box, there are 3 email addresses. The first one is for Diogo, our speaker. The second is the official email to make inquiries to Ignitia. And the last email is mine. We still have a little more time left. So feel free to still throw in your questions. If typing is taking quite some time, you could raise your hand, unmute your mic, and throw your question out.
I suppose one quick question from me, just because it's vaguely interesting. How easy are the mobile operators to work with around creating these partnerships? Is this?
We've had
a very small experience. Well, yeah, we've had a very small experience of sending very basic SMSs as part of our service, and it's rather painful.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I don't know why I didn't start my start video. Let me put here so everyone can see me. I actually forgot to put that. Let me turn on. Yeah, Matthew, it's quite interesting, and it's that's why it's very difficult, especially in the region where we operate in West Africa. It's quite difficult, but you know. That's why I told you when I answered, I think it was Christian, about expanding to new region. When you start thinking about new country or new region, you need to make sure I need to start conversation almost 1 year before I launch the project.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
And I've been working in industry since I started my journey as a worker, and I know when I joined Ignitia in 2017. Lisa, the founders, and also Andreas, also the other founder of the company, were just talking to me and said, "Diogo, why they don't answer my emails, or why they don't send the message that we want?" And I said, "Look, this is how they work, and the way you to win this is to make sure you talk to them every single day. You make sure you go there to the offices. You always need to be very annoying person, basically. You need to push. And this is how actually, we expand so much since I joined, since we started this, since I joined the company. Because in the past, I already, I had the experience to expand to different regions, countries at the same time, like East Europe, West Africa, East Africa, and Asia at the same time. So I already knew what was, the challenge, and but I really knew that, what you need to do to be done, because I understand that you have an app, right? And so probably if you want to put a billing system in place, you need to be connected to a mobile operator or an aggregator. And because if you were in Europe, you just turn on the credit card and that's it. But in West Africa, or across Africa, and that is a big challenge. Yeah. So yes, it's very difficult.
Okay, good. It's good. It's not just us. Hey.
So don't worry, it's not you. Okay, it's not only you.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Matthew, for your question.
No worries.
All right, Ike. I don't see any other questions here.
No, not that I can see. The chat box is going silent. So can we assume that all questions have been answered?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, great.
I think so. Yeah. So just in case you need to, you have further questions at a later time, feel free to reach out to Diogo, to reach out to myself, or to send an email to info@ignitia.se. That's our website on your screen right now, and we're always available to take your questions and provide you not just with answers, but solutions to whatever were the problems you may be facing in the tropics. So from over here, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Diogo, for taking all the time to be here and walk us through this. Thanks to everyone who stayed to the end. Really appreciate having you here. So till next time.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Ike. You know, as Ike said, if you have any other questions, you know, feel free just to reach me. So thank you so much, everyone.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye,
Yeah.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.